the things that I expected from my peers, they carry a lot more weight with them than they would with people who've gone ahead of us or people who are just behind us. You know, and as in, even up till now, there are some, what the best word would probably be peer pressure, that doesn't make sense to me. It still doesn't make sense to me. As in, I can't internalize it. I don't know how to, it just doesn't compute for me. You know, so what I ended up doing was that I would make friends with people who are much older than me and people who are younger than me. And I think for them, the scripting was a lot easier. You know, yeah, the scripting was a lot easier. They didn't have any preconceived notions that they had were things I could work my way around with. Yeah, so from primary school into secondary school, well, secondary school was rough. Yeah, I was in boarding house for like a year. Had no interest in doing that again. There were so many things that just, should we say, made me a very obvious target. One of them, which something I still, I won't say I deal with. It's just something that comes along with the package of me, Remi Olutimayin, is texture. So as in, when it came to, like in the evenings, the secondary school was called, my first secondary school was called, is known as Federal Government College Ilorin. That's way up in the north in Nigeria. And we were expected to wear shorts in the boarding house when you were outside of the classroom and in the boarding area. I couldn't bring myself to do that. I couldn't bring myself to do that. When it came to using the showers, I would rather shower with my shoes on. It's you know, interesting stuff. As in, looking back now, I'm like, oh yeah. That's what it's like being on the spectrum. You know, well, prior to that, it wasn't something I could understand. I just had to accept that, look, this is what makes me comfortable, this is what makes me feel safe, this is what I'm going to do. In secondary school, that was where I started to further explore what I do right now, which is voice acting. But not just voice acting, but storytelling. You know, I used to draw comics and things like that, and they are not stickmen, as in, like, I do the whole 9 yards, from the panel design to, so as in paneling arrangement, to coloring, to shading, to lettering, you know, all of that stuff. No, I don't think comic companies would have picked me up immediately and say, oh, this boy's a superstar. But what I did learn is that if you tell a story very well, then you've done it. You know, if you don't tell a story very well, the audience will let you know immediately. And thankfully, through all the things that I did with my art and my comics and things like that, I just kept getting better and better. Yeah, university was where a lot of things broke in me. Yeah, a lot of things broke in me, and it was like a huge storm of, why am I like this? I said, I mean, like it was a huge storm, you know. It was my first experience in adulthood, you know. It was exciting. It was scary. The relationships, ooh, wow. The relationships were just weird. Yeah, that's how I can put it. I don't say that to put down any of the people that I dated or things like that. No, it was just, you know, it was just weird. I think it was at that time I didn't realize how intensely I didn't understand how intense my need for certain things to be regulated was. As in, up till right now at my age, there are things that if they're not regulated, if they're not to what makes me feel comfortable, that's like that I can predict the outcome from things being done this way, things being set this way, things being available here. If I don't have that, I'm not. Yeah, it's not gonna. I'm not gonna be there. I'm not going to be happy. The interesting thing too for me is the shape that my meltdowns took. Yeah. Most of my meltdowns, I think a lot of it had to do with the way that I was raised by my parents. They're two very educated people. My dad went to Princeton, you know, so to a degree, they could relate with the propensity for violent outbursts. I never asked them how they knew, you know, but it was something that, you know, they kept on letting me know, you are a gentleman, be a gentleman. You're a gentleman, be a gentleman. This is how a gentleman behaves. This is not how a gentleman behaves. This is how a gentleman thinks through the situation. This is not how a gentleman thinks through the situation. You know, and it helped. It's something I still carry with me today. I do not have my meltdowns are more protracted now, and but not in a bad way. I recognize them when they're happening, and I remove myself from people and things, even my family, because I don't want anybody to be on the receiving end of it. Yeah, but the really amazing thing about it is that once I figured out what I was good at and what needs it met, the rest became easy. As in, like, even discovering a measure for my self-worth, you know, for how I value myself, that made a huge difference. That made a huge difference. And I think the most fun thing about my life right now is that what I do right now, what I've won awards for, as in mostly international awards for, did not exist when I was growing up. In fact, if you were engaged in it, you were considered to be idle. You know, you're considered not to have a clear vision for your future. You know, and it came together wonderfully. it came together wonderfully. And the really awesome thing about it for me is that once I have a clear vision, it doesn't matter whether it's there or not. I will pioneer that thing till it happens. For example, I and a friend of mine, Namdi Woha, we were the major part of the team that jump-started popular animation in Nigeria again in 2010. And he's a bit private about it for his own reasons. But for me, I'm so very proud of that. I'm so very proud of that. You know, making that distinction between voice overs and voice acting, helping people find their gift in voice acting. That is such a huge reward for me. That I've been doing that. I've been teaching voice acting since 2017. Yes, I believe that's when I started. And most of my best work has been me working with the people that I trained. You know, and for me that's a sign that I'm doing the right thing in the right direction. You know, I don't need more than that. Even though I've gotten more than that, but I don't need more than that. You know, the voice directing. Funny thing about voice directing, when I started, I spent the first 4 years teaching the heads of animation studios in Nigeria what voice directing was, because they had no clear idea as to what the voice modulation and things like that. It's all that is part of it, but that's not the main thrust. The main thrust is for people to hear what you've done and believe it. Do you know how you believed Darth Vader when you first heard him? You know, that sort of thing. So so it doesn't matter how extreme or how far removed or how close it is to your regular life, it's still voice acting. So the good thing about it is that I felt that animation in Nigeria was going to get to where they needed voice actors, and they needed to be a supply of skilled, trained people to meet it. And I'm so happy to be able to say comfortably that most of the people that I've trained, as in I've done outstanding projects with them. I even won awards with some of them. But the thing for me is that they have done something wonderful, and typically that would be enough for me, you know. But it's been amazing. Now you might think, okay, yes, voice actor, okay, yeah, voice director in Nigeria. Who have you worked with? What have you done? As in I've done work with Aardman animation. I've done work with Disney animation. You know, as a Aardman as a voice director, Disney as a voice actor, and the interesting thing for me is that what most people would see as intimidating, my wiring doesn't allow for that to sit with me. It just doesn't allow for it. So, like improbable victory. Let me put it this way. As soon as I hear, well, you know, we can't do that here. We don't know how to. We don't have the people who can do this thing. I sit down, think about it, and when I realize, oh, this is the path, this is the road that needs to be made to get it done. I make the road, get it done. And I'm like, yeah,